Hello and welcome to Reviews. As always, I'm Plume Noir. Here we are at She-Hulk Episode 5, past the halfway mark of the series, and we've been told throughout the series how great Jennifer Walters is at, well, everything really. Yet everything we see shows the opposite. Whether it was taking on Wong as a client on his case against Donnie Blaze, which she lost, to barely being able to meet men on a dating app in her human form, which seems very unlikely as Titania is an attractive woman and Jennifer Walters is a lawyer. I find it very unlikely that she would get hardly any matches, even from curious guys. And honestly, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought that this show was some boomers versus millennials hot take. You know, where older baby boom writers were dunking on the younger generation. This version of She-Hulk is a millennial, and in comics lore, Jen Walters is perennially 31, so that would make her a millennial by today's standards, and in the show that does seem to be the case, and it also seems like she is badly written almost out of spite. But no, that's not the case. It's not some type of, showing how silly millennials are. No, the writers are just not that good at their job. You see, Jen is apparently unable to even find and meet with a tailor to have her own business suits made that would fit her as well as some for her She-Hulk form. Also the other thing is, Jen kind of drifts from point to point as the plot pulls her. In episode 5, Jen is being sued by Titania for using the She-Hulk name. Titania had trademarked the name. Jen also countersues to get her name back. And we finally get a major showing from Mallory Book in this episode because Jen's boss doesn't think that Jen can handle the case. Although, this is smart because in the real world, it's usually not advised for lawyers to represent themselves. But even Mallory isn't having much luck until Jen remembers that she created a dating profile as She-Hulk and was presenting herself that way, meaning she was using the She-Hulk name before Titania trademarked it. And Jen only realizes this when she sees that one of her dates is also a client of Mallory's. That's a plot coincidence, eh? But this means that her dates had to come in and testify on her behalf, which Jen finds quite embarrassing. And it's funny how just a couple episodes ago, Dennis was the butt monkey for getting catfished by a shapeshifter. But when it's Jen basically catfishing a guy for having two completely different forms, she's still the one that we should be having sympathy for. The B-plot is Nikki getting suits for Jen with Pug's help. And, I'm sticking by my thing that I think Nikki has a gay crush on Jennifer Walters, the way she seems to be doing everything to help Jen. She doesn't seem to have any type of personal life or anything she does on her own. Basically, she exists to help Jen. But the suits she's getting, they're not superhero suits. She really just needs three-piece suits for work. And so, Nikki and Pug, they end up making their way to Luke Jacobson, who is a special tailor for superheroes, kind of, on the down low. And, like last week, a large part of this episode's comedy comes from a guest star going over the top with more ham than an Easter dinner for 20 people. For each episode, I've showed where the QR code is, where you can scan it and read a free issue of She-Hulk online. And in this episode, I'm going to show it, but in all the other episodes, I've never remarked on it, but I have to this time. You see, scanning this particular QR code allows you to read She-Hulk number 10, the issue from 2004. Now, this issue is basically the backstory of Titania before her introduction in the first Secret Wars limited series back in 1984. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because it just shows how little the writers care for the material that they are working with. You see, in this show, Titania is as Jen says, slightly superhuman, I believe. She's an influencer with a lot of clout. She has a business-savvy mind since she was able to trademark the She-Hulk name. And she's also very self-absorbed. Yet, we still don't know why she attacked that courtroom in the first episode and nearly killed all those jurors. And even worse, other than a passing mention of charges being dropped, we don't know how she was able to get away scot-free from physically breaking into a government building. I mean, that's literally what she did. She broke through the wall of the courtroom. That's a government building. And I'm sure that they would have had more charges like jury tampering or jury intimidation, probably. Those would have just been stacked on top of her. But with the way they write on the show, I don't honestly expect that to ever be brought up again. I just do not have faith in these writers. But in the comics, as the linked comic shows, Titania, she was a scrawny and frail girl from a poor family named Mary McFerrin. And the popular girls, they teased her and called her Skeeter as an insult, and then the nickname stuck. And it didn't look like her life would ever get any better until the city of Denver was transported by the Beyonder to a patchwork world called Battle World. Okay, comics, okay? And here, Dr. Doom found her and her best friend Marcia and transformed Skeeter into a tall, attractive, voluptuous powerhouse. But all that rage that she had from years of abuse, it now had an outlet as she, then rechristened herself Titania. And with all this power, all this strength, and all this rage, she could finally get her revenge on the world that had mistreated her. In fact, one of the first things she did was that she took part in a savage beatdown of She-Hulk. This is a huge part of the problem with this show. Titania was already the perfect antithesis of She-Hulk. Jen's father was a sheriff, and Jen went to law school to protect innocent people as a defense lawyer and to bring justice to criminals as a prosecutor. Skeeter had little opportunities in life, and once she became Titania, she became just like the bullies who tormented her. Jen got her powers from her cousin Bruce, arguably a hero. Skeeter got her powers from the villain Dr. Doom. The linked comic just reinforces how little the show writers care. In fact, why even choose this comic? As there is almost no resemblance between Titania in the show and the one from the comics. And don't try and say that it's a modern take on the character. It's a completely different character in every way except the name. The show chose to avoid exploring what a dark reflection of She-Hulk that Titania could be. Probably because, like writing law scenes, that would be too hard. 5 o'clock. This episode is barely watchable. I'll see you next time. No, this doesn't mean, cool, Daredevil. It means, so how are they going to F up Daredevil this time?